Hello YouTubers, welcome back to another Tesla vlog with me, Adam Well Informed. As you can see from the title, Tesla Model Y 2022. Is it too expensive versus ICE alternatives and the Model 3 2022? I'll be comparing the purchase price against a BMW X3 being a SUV or ICE alternative, then incorporating running costs and even how it lines up against the Tesla Model 3 2022. Also in this week's video, you're all in for an extra saucy, well-informed teaser. Now please don't be afraid if you have no idea what I'm talking about right now. Let me explain. If you saw my previous video about the Tesla Model 3 2022 on the top right of your screen now, I revealed a little bit more about my secret project that I hope will be a game-changing tool for potential EV buyers and even EV owners alike. For those that have watched many of my videos before, for which I do see in the analytics that a fair few of my subs do return back, thank you all for consistently watching me week in, week out. It's behaviour like that really reinforces what I'm helping to build. What I'm trying to say is you're pushing me out of my comfort zone, and the end result should hopefully be an app that you can all enjoy so much that whenever you're talking or recommending an electric car to a friend, such as a Tesla Model 3 or a Tesla Model Y, this app will go in hand. More insight on that later on in the video. For those that haven't watched my videos, I do a video pretty much every week on my refreshed Tesla Model 3 2021. I talk about all things Tesla and electric cars in general. If you like that kind of content, drop us a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, plus you'll be the first to know when the secret app I'm hoping to build will be released. You don't want to miss out on the exclusive insider info, do you? So let's buckle up and get into it. For those that have seen one of my videos before, know I drive this awesome refreshed Tesla Model 3 2021. Here in the UK, we've been waiting what feels like an eternity. Almost 2 years for a Tesla Model Y to be delivered on our shores. Deliveries are due in Q1 of 2022, but the Model Y is already available in mainland Europe as well as the US and China for quite some time. The Model Y is expected to drive Tesla to record levels, with Elon Musk stating that he expects the Model Y to be the best-selling car by 2022, that's by revenue, and 2023 by units, potentially. That's an almighty statement to make. And considering that Tesla doesn't use paid advertising for any of their cars, it just reiterates how strong they expect the car to just literally sell itself. I mean, take a look at the latest sale numbers coming from China for October. It's already upsetting the market leaders in the segment and taking a top spot along the way. If we look at the Model Y basics for those that are unaware or need a recap of some of the standout features of the Tesla Model Y 2022, it was first released in March 2020, but in typical Tesla fashion, even though the car had been released for around a year and a half, there have been several changes since inception, both from a physical hardware/build perspective and a software perspective. Just focusing on the new 2022 Tesla Model Y, there are 2 versions of the Model Y currently available around the world, discounting the very interesting Model Y SR Plus in China. That deserves a whole video in its own entirety. But the Model Y is a younger, more attractive sibling to the Model 3. Sounds like me versus my older brother, really. Just kidding, bro. Some call the Model Y a mid-size SUV or a compact SUV. That's naturally taller, wider and slightly longer than a Model 3 sedan. In imperial measurements, 2.2 inches longer, 2.8 inches wider and 7.2 inches bigger than the Model 3. But doesn't every inch count here, as the Tesla Model Y has 68 cubic feet of cargo space compared to around 15 in the Tesla Model 3. Surprising considering how it also shares around 70 to 80% of the same parts. These extra inches must just make all the difference. Sharing parts help keeps their costs low and makes the Model Y a lower cost SUV option to the Tesla Model X. It also means the awesome experience of the Model 3 can be echoed in an SUV format, which consumers seem to crave more than any other segment. Statistically, here in the UK, the long-range Model Y can achieve up to 315 WLTP rated range and a 0-60 time of 4.8 seconds. And the performance can achieve 298 WLTP rated range. Across the pond, the long range is rated up to 330 miles EPA and performance at 303 EPA. Both vehicles have a max charge rate of 250 kilowatts and are able to achieve 150 miles in around 15 minutes of supercharging. This is all for the grand price of £54,990 for the long range, £64,990 for the performance, or $58,990, or $63,990 in the US for both variants. In between recording this voiceover, the price actually increased another $1,000. It's had a price increase of around $8,000 since the start of the year alone in the US, which is just crazy. So at initial glance, the price difference between a long range Model 3 and the Model Y is £6,000 here in the UK and $8,000 in the US. It's a pretty big jump if you're after a Tesla experience, but you want that bigger passenger space and the hatchback boot / trunk and just generally more storage. Yeah, it has a HEPA filter for cleaner air, but unless you need that bigger space, it's pretty much an identical car at the moment though. I think it's much fairer though to compare it against another SUV within its segment than a Model 3. Let's take a look at the competition. So this is where your mind is going to be blown. Looking at the Model Y competitors, it's competing primarily with ICE vehicles, so your BMW X3s or your Mercedes GLCs, as per the China sales data I shown earlier in the video. These are your premium compact SUV ICE equivalents, and I think it's probably fair to say that these are probably some of the best ICE vehicles in the segment. If we pick a fairly high spec X3 to match similar specs of the Model Y, say the M Sport, it starts at $46,000, and then the M models are £59,000, and this is before annual running cost savings, which I will show you next. But it's a similar situation with the Mercedes GLC too, $45,000 to $57,000 for an ICE equivalent. It's almost cost parity with its petrol and diesel alternatives. Let's use the BMW X3 M Sport for example. $46,000 is the starting price. However, this can go up as high as $52,515 if you picked a more efficient and quicker engine within the same M Sport spec, this being the xDrive 30D. So that's roughly a £2,500 difference in the purchase price. To be within £2,500 is cost competitive in my eyes. If you as a consumer are in the market to acquire a car over £50,000, a £2,500 difference is priced pretty competitive for sure. This is even before we get to the cherry on top being the running costs. This is where that £2,500 difference is going to get totally wiped out almost completely, and the way it does it is simply jaw-dropping. So let's simulate a quick running cost comparison here in the UK with the help of this app I mentioned earlier. The Model Y long range versus the BMW X3 M Sport xDrive 30D. Just so you get a basic understanding of my comparison, I'll use the average mileage of 10,000 miles a year to be the most identifiable and relatable comparison. I will also base the cost of fuel and electric on the average price of diesel in the UK, 145.6 pence, and again I'll do the same for electric. So the average here is 17.2 pence per kilowatt hour. Here in the UK, we have to pay road tax, which is dependent on a number of factors, primarily penalising cars that emit high levels of CO2 emissions, and if the vehicle is a luxury vehicle, subject to it being a EV. And if you really want to read up on all of that and all the particulars, I'll leave a link in the description if you want some kind bedtime reading. On this occasion, the BMW does emit CO2 and is deemed to be a luxury car. Therefore, it attracts an annual rate of £490 per annum. Heading over to servicing, BMW insists on an annual service, and if we use their 3-year maintenance plan, we can get an average annual service of around £300 per year for the X3. The Tesla Model Y maintenance plan is very similar to the Tesla Model 3 in that it does not have a strict requirement for an annual service. There is just a list of items that need attention, such as tyre rotations, swapping the cabin filters, but an actual annual service is not required, noting you can use an authorised third party to do so if you wish. But to keep it fair and in line with the manufacturer's guidance, we have incorporated a zero cost for servicing for the Model Y. I have not incorporated the cost for maintenance items such as air filters or spark plugs, etc., or any other replacements, because they can be dependent on wear and tear, which will vary for both vehicles. Finally, insurance. I've had to assume identical insurance costs as the Model Y is not yet available to allow me to simulate some insurance costs. The Model 3 and the BMW 3 Series were almost identical too when I did a similar exercise in the video above. Therefore, I've had to make a guess on this occasion that they are about the same. Moving on to the results, these are eye-opening. The Model Y is £1,851.62 cheaper to run for the course of just 1 year, not including any other maintenance items or any other congestion or clean air zone fees for that matter, as I find that heavily location dependent. That initial purchase price difference of $2,500 is totally wiped out in around 18 months then. If we introduce a cheaper overnight electric tariff like my Optimus Go tariff, the difference then increases to £2,142. £2,142 a year cheaper to run the Model Y long range than the BMW xDrive 30D. Once you've picked a ICE alternative and the competition is priced very similar, you then think to yourself, okay, I could consider that vehicle subject to the running costs. Well, after that simulation, the writing is on the wall for similarly priced alternatives. Am I right? Sure, in the comments I'll be told that the range difference between the two is around 350 miles towards the BMW's favour. But like I said at the very start, 10,000 miles is the annual average mileage for the average driver. For daily mileage, we're talking about 30 miles plus a day, well within the range remit of the electric car. And don't forget, you can then top up those 30 miles when you go to sleep using your cheap overnight rate. If you take a longer trip in the EV, say 600 miles, you'll have to stop and charge around the 300 miles mark. But let's turn it on its head. That's 5 hours of consistent driving at an average speed of 60 miles per hour. The highway code in the UK recommends a break after 2 hours. Heck, even if you're a trained heavy goods vehicle driver, you need to take a break after 5.5 hours. You can sync your charging session with a bathroom stop, maybe even enjoy some grub. By doing that, have you actually lost any time? Sure, the BMW could drive the full 600 mile stint, but in reality, that's like 10 hours of consistent driving. To me, that's just dangerous. So 300 miles is more than enough, especially here in the UK. That's London to Newcastle in British real life simulation. What if 300 miles isn't enough for the Model Y? Is there a higher mileage alternative on the way? The Model Y is expected to get even more revisions by Tesla. By revisions, I mean it should be pretty significant change too. This will be the inclusion of the brand new 4680 batteries integrated into a structural pack. We're still waiting for the final details on this, but it will be built in the new Texas and Berlin factories. Production is due to come online over the next couple of months or so, therefore it won't be long before we hear what these improvements look like. At Battery Day, Drew Baglinen claimed that this new battery technology could increase range by 20%. And costs to produce the packs are expected to be lower once fully scaled. Based on the existing stats, maybe we're looking at a 400 mile plus Model Y. I'm hoping we find out very soon because this is expected to be the next step in battery technology. Once it's released, it would set a new standard benchmark within the EV segment. So to summarise, going back to the question, the Model Y 2022, is it too expensive versus ICE alternatives? And the Model 3 2022. In comparison to the Model 3, it's an apple and orange scenario. They're totally different segments. It's not a fair comparison. Even though the cars are very similar, they're still very technically different. If you're stuck between a Model 3 or a Model Y, the Model 3 is cheaper and will have more range, but it will have slightly less passenger space and overall storage capacity in a nutshell. Looking over to ICE alternatives, it's pretty much at cost parity territory, at least here in the UK. The annual running costs just blow initial savings out of the water, and the position is only going to get better for the Model Y as the 4680 variant is targeting more efficiency, more range, and a more cost-effective build, which could convert to lower prices. But honestly, the price of the Model Y has increased over $8,000 in the US alone since the start of the year, and the price continues to grow as demand continues to grow. The UK hasn't even seen a price increase yet, as we've only had the ability to order it in the last 4 weeks. But if we're talking about its price point, yes, it is more expensive to buy than a similarly spec'd ICE equivalent, but only just. Key thing here is not to judge a book by its front cover. Take annual ownership costs into account. The running costs really sell itself to ICE alternatives when displayed in a quick and easy format. And that's the core purpose of this app. That's it from me. Let me know what you think. Is the Model Y too expensive? Would you buy it over a Model 3? Or would you buy something else? Maybe a Ford Mach-E rather than the ICE alternative. Let me know in the comment section below if you got this far in the video. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share the video with your friends and family. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.